Four Hero are an electronic music duo from the United Kingdom, in fact from London. They were formed in 1989 and are still going. They are considered to be one of the trailblazers of jungle and drum and bass, and they have released 11 albums and loads of singles and EPs. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the second studio album from Four Hero. It's my first encounter with them, so therefore obviously with this album as well. Normally what I do, this is going to give you a hint as to how I feel about this. Normally what I do is I listen to an album once, then I read up on it, and this is especially effective if I don't know much about it before I start through the process, and then I listen again. On this occasion, I've listened once and I'm not going to listen again. I have got a very good idea of what I think of this album already through one listen, and I can't face it again. That's the issue. So it's described as being either jungle or drum and bass, and maybe it's somewhere on the interface between the two. I honestly couldn't tell you what my opinion was for that, because this is outside my realm of electronic music. It's into the kind of fast post-rave stuff. So let's try some description. So in general, there's some what sounds like keyboard pads or samples of keyboard pads being used, sometimes some fairly kind of suspended chords in there, and there might be other little bits of twittery stuff going on, but the other kind of main component here is fast, complex drum breaks. Again, I don't know if these are samples that have been speeded up, or if they're being deliberately created like this, or if they're done from a drum machine. I have no information about this. Sometimes it's pretty stuttery. So there are times when actually the drum break is kind of an uneven number of beats or something, and it gives it an added kind of edge to it. Sometimes there are some effects like making it super fast and getting that sound that you can get, or time dilation effects or speed ups and sweeps with the tone. There's all sorts of these kind of electronic studio effects being used, and some of those are fairly interesting and maybe a little unusual. And it kind of conforms to the normal thing of electronic music, which is that I'd say every few bars, every few cycles with this, something has changed, and says, what we're going to do now? Oh, well, let's drop the drums out. Okay, for how long? Oh, 4 bars. And then what we're going to do, we'll bring the drums back in. Okay, and so it keeps moving on in that sense. Some of the tracks have got bits of singing in it. Particularly found that the first track had quite a bit in it. It felt like that actually, it seemed like it was the same voice in the first track and the second track, so I'm not sure if it was samples or they'd actually got a singer in. One thing that I found mildly interesting was in the first track there was a saxophone, which didn't seem to be just a sampled section. So it may be samples, but it felt more like it was actually had somebody play a saxophone, which made it more interesting. And that made that my favourite track, the first track. And I was, I have to say, still not that impressed, because I was quite quickly bored with this. And this is the problem that I've got, is that I just don't find it that interesting. And I can hear that it's complex. I can hear that quite a bit of work has gone into making this. Apparently this is groundbreaking as an album. Somebody has claimed it's the first proper drum and bass album, and I just want to put a comment in that. I don't feel like I heard a lot of bass going on in that. Maybe it's just too low for the system that I've got going on. It doesn't feel like it's grooves that I can get into. It doesn't feel like it's a danceable speed. It feels like it's too fast for dance, and it's not interesting enough for me in other senses. It may be that I'm just too slow. Kind of jokingly, I might say it's dance music for people with ADHD. It's certainly fast and trippy in that sense, but it doesn't have the same kind of settled, moving on feel that you get from stuff like trance or ambient or things like that. It's just too stuttery. The sounds that are used weren't particularly irritating. Some of the drum break stuff was a bit... I've got a thing about drum sounds that are too tinny, and it was a bit like that at times. But basically, I didn't really object to it on any other grounds other than I just got bored. I got really quite bored in this. It didn't engage me particularly. So it may just be that I'm too old and that my cultural background isn't in this area, so I don't appreciate it particularly. And that's fine. I can live with that. And I can maybe see what the qualities are in it that other people might enjoy. They're just not qualities that I particularly found enjoyable. So I'm not giving it a very high score, as you can probably guess. If this is your favourite thing ever, then I'm really sorry to have trampled over your favourite thing ever. And I'm glad that there are people there who enjoy it, just not for me. So do tell me what you think through the comments box. That's it from me for now.